As I always rave on about on this channel, interoperability is a vital instrument for the future success of cryptocurrency. You see, protocols working independently is just not enough for the entire ecosystem to reach that mass adoption level. Therefore, we need bridges between these ecosystems to slowly move into what we want, a one singular financial ecosystem. Now, bridges are becoming more and more common every day, which is really great to see. However, there are few that stand out above the rest, and in today's video, I am bringing that one directly to you. Moonbeam, a developer-oriented blockchain, is the foundational bridge between the existing Ethereum developer toolchain and the Polkadot infrastructure. Now, it accomplishes this by providing full EVM compatibility, a Web3 compatible API, and a full connection between Moonbeam and the existing Ethereum networks. Now, once Moonbeam actually wins the parachain auction slot, it will then have full access to the remainder of the Polkadot ecosystem, obviously through these parachains, not to mention its companion network Moonriver, which will provide Solidity-based smart contracts to Kusama and would see a connection to Polkadot, obviously sometime in the future. Now, Moonbeam is actually a developer's playground as it is structured to be a smart contract platform that enables an Ethereum-compatible environment for decentralized applications. So basically, this means that developers are able to deploy existing Ethereum smart contracts and Dapps front ends, basically meaning that there is little in the way of rewriting any coding while the user experience remains the same. To look at the macro setting as well, Moonbeam will be connected as a parachain on the Polkadot ecosystem, meaning it will be connected to the Polkadot central relay chain, providing security and other interoperable measures, such as connections to other parachains as well. Okay, so I could say we've got a pretty good understanding of what Moonbeam actually is for the most part, and I'm not going to really cover the specifics because I feel like that's going to take the video length into the hours. So what I'm going to do instead is tell you the three main audiences that would actually benefit from the use of Moonbeam. The first is existing Ethereum-based contracts, or essentially the projects that are suffering from high network congestion and scalability. Therefore, the costs and the fees are exorbitant. Now, to give you an extended answer, Moonbeam will allow these projects to move portions of their existing workloads and state off the Ethereum layer 1 to ease congestion with minimal changes required. Also, an ability for applications to live on both the Ethereum and Moonbeam networks simultaneously. And finally, an option to extend their market reach to Polkadot and its entire network, including future parachains, which I'm sure you should all understand is exceptional. The second will allow for Polkadot ecosystem projects to utilize smart contract capabilities that will actually increase the existing parachains and parathread abilities, add new functionalities that are needed but not included on the main relay chain. As well as Moonbeam describes, these could be features where teams can crowdfund their projects, implement lock drops, and process other more complex financial transactions other than the ones that Substrate can provide. And finally, this will allow for Polkadot-based projects to have exposure to the mature and extensive Ethereum development toolchain. And the third and final audience that Moonbeam will obviously help is obviously developers of new Dapps. Now, it will do this by allowing them to leverage the extensive reach of Polkadot and its soon-to-be parachains, as well as access to assets on other chains as well. And finally, I would just like to quote something that Moonbeam said themselves. So they say they'd like to provide and compose functionality from Polkadot parachains by using Moonbeam as a lightweight integration layer that aggregates network services before presenting them to the end users. Implementing a compose service using a pre-built integration on a smart contract platform will be a lot faster and easier, at least in many cases, than building a full Substrate runtime and performing the integrations yourself in the runtime. So just reiterating here, this is simply the target audience for Moonbeam, but I would just like to let you know the key features and functionality that Moonbeam actually promises to all these three audiences. Firstly, they start off by stating that they're fully decentralized and permissionless. Now, this is providing a base requirement for censorship resistance and support for many existing and future Dapps and their use cases. Essentially, this means that Moonbeam will obviously be decentralized and permissionless, catering for any Dapps that currently run from a similar or identical model. Next, they say it contains a full EVM implementation, enabling Solidity-based smart contracts to be migrated with minimal change with the expected execution results. Now, this is essentially what it sounds like. It basically means that Moonbeam will be providing a connection to Ethereum by migrating existing smart contracts with little change. They go on to say it also implements the Web3 RPC API so that existing Dapps front ends can be migrated with minimal change required. And so existing Ethereum-based tools such as Truffle, Remix, and MetaMask can be used without modification against Moonbeam. So what this is exactly stating is that any Web3 application built on Ethereum that uses an RPC API like the ones I've just mentioned will be able to migrate to Moonbeam without affecting the UI, therefore enabling things like MetaMask to connect to Polkadot. Now, next they have compatible with the Substrate ecosystem toolset, including Block Explorer's front-end development libraries and wallets, allowing developers and users to use the right tool for what they are trying to accomplish. Next, they also have a native cross-chain integration via the Polkadot network and via token bridges, which allows for token movement, state visibility, and message passing with Ethereum and other chains. And finally, they go on to state that they have on-chain governance to allow stakeholders to quickly and forklessly evolve the base protocol according to developer and community needs. So as you can tell, there is actually quite a lot going on behind the scenes for Moonbeam, and it's pretty much making a comprehensive pathway from Ethereum to Polkadot, which is what we want, pretty much connecting these two huge powerhouses. Now, before we move on, I thought it would be important to mention that Moonbeam is still in development, and at the moment, its canary systemnet Moonriver will be used to test and try new code and developments before Moonbeam is functioning. Now, Moonriver is currently out, which will perform the exact same utility that Moonbeam does, however, on the Kusama network rather than Polkadot. Now, Moonriver will continue to be the canary network for Moonbeam throughout development stages. Okay, so now that we have a basic understanding of how Moonbeam works, let's now move into the fundamental reasons why I am so bullish on its future. Welcome back, everyone. My name's Kyron from No BS Crypto, and if you're new here, I post 2 videos a week. The first is on a cryptocurrency recommended by my audience, where I review a coin suggested by you, and I just rate that honestly on what I call my BSO meter from A to E. And the second video, like the one today, is on 100x cryptocurrency. And don't get it twisted, I don't mean we'll 100x tomorrow or in the next week or in the next month. I normally give out specific timelines for the 100x, but more or less it's either in the entire bull run or a future bull run. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, with that being said, welcome to the video and let's get started. All right, let's now begin, guys, with the fundamentals. So obviously I want to point this out to begin with. When anyone looks at any cryptocurrency, they're looking at 3 important things to begin with, and that's the name, the logo, and the ticker, and this obviously draws investors in. So it's appropriate to have 3 fitting sort of areas here. Now, as we can see, Moonbeam is the name, and there's nothing to crucify the cryptocurrency on with that. It's not a strange name like Cumrocket, for example. So the logo now, and that obviously reflects the name being a moon's beam, I guess, and that's a nice design. I actually quite like the aqua and the purple sort of coloring there, so nothing to mark them down with on the logo. Now, the ticker is a bit different. It's GLMR, and that actually stands for Glmr. And if you're unfamiliar, that's a native token on the Moonbeam network that is used to actually operate the smart contract. So we'll get into that later on in the video. But yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with what they've got here to start off with. It is very, very attractive. And I want to point out that it is on 18,000 watch lists on CoinMarketCap, and it actually isn't listed on CoinGecko at this stage at least. And that's because CoinGecko typically only lists openly traded coins. So what I typically do with the cryptocurrency is break it down, starting with the CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko stats. Obviously, it's not being traded right now, so I don't have any of that information to bring to you. However, when it does launch, I would love to come back and revisit Moonbeam. So as of now, we're going to get into the pure fundamentals. And right now, it's looking at the tokenomics, economics, and the governance model, which is very, very crucial in any cryptocurrency, because that's going to give us a great indication of if we should hold the token for a certain time or possibly hold off, wait for a potential sell-off to buy in at a cheaper price, and overall look at any sort of staking incentives of holding the native token, governance models, things like that. I think you guys get the picture there. So let's now move in firstly with the tokenomics. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be able to remember all these statistics off the top of my head, so excuse me, I will have to read off my screen, but make sure you do pay attention. I will be reading these from the top to the bottom. So let's begin with now at the seed funding stage. So this will have access to 14% of the supply, which is in the hands of the original venture capitalists and investors that have pooled secured funding into Moonbeam, so it makes sense as to why they would have a decent amount of the pool size. Now, the venture firms that have been invested in this specific pool are Hypersphere, Arrington, Hashkey, KR1, Bitcoin.com, and DU Capital. Now, moving on to the strategic funding round, this will occupy 12% of this supply, and the investors that make up this pool is CoinFund, Binance, Coinbase, Parafy, Fenbushi, IOSG, as well as some of the previous investors in the seed funding stage as well. So the next one, we have Take Flight, which is the community event. This is essentially an event Moonbeam held for loyal fans to participate in the very early stages of the cryptocurrency with a minimum and maximum contribution of $500 and $2,500 respectively. Now, this has already come and gone, and the total pool weight for this was 10%. Now, the parachain bond funding is essentially Moonbeam's solution to securing a future parachain slot between years 1 through to 6. And as we should all know, parachain slots can only be leased for a maximum of 2 years, so extra funding is always necessary here. And this will take up 15% of the supply. Now we have Parachain Bond Reserve. Now this is similar to the Parachain bond funding pool, except this is where part of the inflation that I will be discussing shortly goes into secure a parachain slot indefinitely. So these guys will only have 0.5% of the allocation, but this is a crucial part of Moonbeam. Now we have the treasury here. It's where the governance plays an important part, as these funds can be used for things like rewards. It will also house 20% of the gas fees generated from Moonbeam and holds only 0.5% of the allocation. Now, long-term protocol and ecosystem development, this is 15% of the allocation, and here is where the tokens are used by the Moonbeam Foundation for protocol development and other programs. Now, we have the liquidity programs, and this will have access to 8% with incentives for growth and adoption. Next down the list, we have Developer Adoption Program, which is used as incentives for early Moonbeam developers and adopters, taking up 4.5%. Key partners and advisors, obviously pretty self-explanatory there, that's 4.5%. Pure stake early backers, which is 1.4%, which will actually make up some of the original team. Next, we have founders and early employees, and that will be 10%. And finally, future employee incentives will have a 4.6% allocation. So what does this all exactly mean for you and I? Well, essentially, when I'm looking at a cryptocurrency's token distribution, I'm always marking off the ones that have the most volatile, for example, the early backers or any sort of investor that if they wake up tomorrow and possibly want to get rid of their tokens, therefore dumping their coins. So with that being said, the investors make up about 17.4% of the total allocation, which actually isn't all that much, and that's a great thing to look at. However, if we counter in every single party that has the ability to actually withdraw funds on an individual level as well as possibly an entity level, we're going to also include in the partners, advisors, and the team, which will then come to 31.9%, which obviously is pretty much 1/3 of the total distribution. So yeah, you know what, this may seem very, very dangerous to someone that has an untrained eye and may go, oh, hang on a second, that's 1/3 of the tokens. You know, that's a lot of the tokens that are potentially in volatile hands. And that's a bit shaky for me. Well, I want you to remember a few important factors. Now, the first is that this is diversified, everyone. So this isn't going to be to 1, 2, or 3 people. This is diversified across some of the bigger investors I've mentioned to you already. And that's only a small fraction of the investors. Now, they're obviously the bigger names, and I'm sure most of us would have heard of some of them names. But remember, this is across individuals as well as entities. So there isn't too much to be concerned with there. This is pretty much like most cryptocurrencies nowadays. They give a lot out to the investors because there are so many investors in general. Now with the advisors and the team, remember, it's actually under the Moonbeam Foundation. And the Moonbeam Foundation is the overarching foundation that also controls Moonriver as well. And there's quite a few investors and team people involved in these two projects. So this isn't going to like 10 or 20 people. This is going to at least 50 people. So again, it is well diversified here. Now, also in saying that, we've got to remember that there is vesting schedules and lockups also involved in this. And this is what I was saying to you previously, where if we know certain dates or months where there could be a release of a certain amount of tokens to party A, B, and C, then we could possibly hold off for that month in anticipation for a dip because of a sell-off. So in saying that, vesting schedules and lockups are really, really important to get your head around. And this is often looked over by many, many people. So we're going to actually take a look at that now. Okay, so here we are, the vesting schedule. Now, this might look a bit foreign to a lot of people, but trust me, it is crucial you understand what this actually means and what it is telling you, okay? So if you are unfamiliar with what this looks like and this looks like Chinese to you, then please stay tuned for my paid hidden course series. It will be coming out soon. Trust me, I'll be giving you guys updates hopefully in the next few weeks. Now, in saying that, I'm going to give you the main people that hold the most volatility, and that would obviously be the investors, the team, and the advisors. So again, forgive me for looking at my screen for this one, but obviously can't remember everything. So let's now begin with the seed round. Okay, so these guys completed their round in September of 2020 and are subject to a 24-month vest with a 3-month cliff and equal vesting in months 4 to 24. Now, the strategic funding round was completed in March of 2021, and this is subject to a 12-month vesting schedule with a 2-month cliff and equal vesting in months 3 to 12. Now, the key partners and advisors are subject to a 24-month vesting schedule from the launch of the network with a 6-month cliff and monthly vesting thereafter. Now, the pure stake early backers will be required to hold their tokens for 24 months from the network launch and a 6-month cliff and monthly vesting thereafter as well. Now, the founders and early employees are required to hold their funds for 4 years from the launch of the network with a 1-year cliff and monthly vesting thereafter. Now, the vesting schedule obviously has a lot more pools involved, as you can see on screen. However, I just want to make a very, very important note that this vesting schedule is not the complete vesting schedule. As we can see, each and every single pool is actually entered into the allocation here. However, it doesn't show the complete 100% dilution. As we can see on the left-hand column there, it only goes up to 50%. So there is a lot more to grow. So what does this all mean? Well, this just goes to show why it is so important to understand what the vesting schedule is and how to read it. Now, this pretty much goes to show that the seed and strategic rounds, which is the main bulk of the investors, won't be able to access their funds anytime before March of 2022 and September 2022, respectively. Now, when they do, the tokens will actually be trickled out over time, so there isn't really a need to be panicked about a large dump. Now, in saying that, the partners, the advisors, the pure stake backers, founders, and employees, they're actually all locked up for a minimum of 2 to 4 years at the time of the network launch, and that was actually in January of 2020. Now, these guys actually have a decently long cliff after the lockup period is over, which gives me all the information I need to say to you, I have the confidence the 2021 bull market should be fine and we shouldn't see any large dumps, at least for Moonbeam. Now, this statement isn't actually 1000% correct, as this is cryptocurrency. There are other whales that will be involved outside of these backers. So it's important to understand, yeah, you probably will see, obviously, the cryptocurrency dumped on at one point, a retracement and things like that. That's all healthy, that's all natural. However, I'm coming from the standpoint, the fundamental standpoint of the information that we have now. So with that being said, everyone, I think that I should be pretty well confident that 2021, at least with the bull market, possibly ending in December 2021 or January 2022, there won't be any of these large investors having any sort of large influence on the price. So the governance of Moonbeam is handled by their native token, which is Glmr or Glmr. Now, as Moonbeam states in the paragraph on screen, the Glmr token is absolutely paramount for the functionality of the project, as we all know, Moonbeam is a smart contract-based platform, and therefore it needs a token to actually power these smart contracts. So that's what the Glmr token essentially is. Now, I'm just going to read to you some of the key use cases of the Glmr token. So first of all, it supports gas metering of smart contract execution, which is obviously very important for people who are used to Ethereum and like double checking gas for peace of mind. Also incentivizing collators and other nodes to continue to operate, and facilitating on-chain governance in all ways necessary, and paying transaction fees on the network. So this is pretty much a standard list of what a token would be used for on any sort of project, except exactly what you would want to find in a decentralized cryptocurrency, of course. So I thought it'd be a great idea to bring to you guys the inflation model of Moonbeam, just so you at least knew what was happening here. I know the word inflation is a bit funny in the cryptocurrency space, not many people like to hear it, but it is absolutely crucial for the success of Moonbeam. Now, Moonbeam will have an inflation rate of 5% per year, and therefore it will have an uncapped token supply. Now, let me give you 3 important reasons why it is so crucial Moonbeam actually has some form of inflation. Now, the first is to pay for collators to incentivize network loyalty, which will take up 1%. The second will be heading to the parachain bond reserve pool, which is the pool that I actually described to you earlier, that ensures all the future parachain slots are won with little to no community funding, and that will take up 1.5%. And finally, the third will go to the users that stake the Glmr token that will inevitably help power the collator selection process, which is pretty much the nodes that help actually connect these parachains to the Polkadot ecosystem. So I hope that kind of makes some sense. I know a lot of people get funny with that word inflation and they think, oh no, I'm not going to invest in this cryptocurrency now. And if they hear the word deflation, they instantly think no matter what, I'm going to make money, but that couldn't be further from the truth. So pay attention. Again, this is absolutely necessary for the success of Moonbeam, and this will be something that people can change in the governance model. So keep that in mind as well. So here we have the roadmap, a crucial piece of information for any cryptocurrency to show, as us, the retail investors, need to know what has happened in the project to date and what is projected, okay? So as we can see in the case of Moonbeam here, they have completed quite a few events, and the only one coming up is the mainnet launch on Polkadot. Now, this is completely dependent on Polkadot and when it actually releases the ability for its parachains to be available. And this exact date is unknown at this point in time. So please feel free to follow my Twitter page. It's at NoBSCrypto. The tag will be on the screen now. And I will let you guys know when this is due to come out so you can then participate in the crowd loan. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what a crowd loan is, don't worry. I'll be coming out with a video hopefully today or tomorrow on what this actually is and explaining how to sign up for it, at least for Ocala, and it'll be much the same with Moonbeam. So as we can see here, we have an unbelievable list of partners and projects already building on Moonbeam. One thing we can understand about a list this prominent is that Moonbeam obviously has a very large amount of confidence when it comes to its capabilities. Other projects understand how crucial Moonbeam is, not only simplifying the bridge between the two blockchains, but also providing additional layers of support for developers. Now, this list is extremely bullish for the project, as some of the big names include OneChain, Dodo, Convergence, The Graph, Covalent, Orion, Balancer, Razor, SushiSwap, Ocean, Crust, MetaMask, Chainlink, and PokerStarter. And trust me, so many more. Now, keep in mind, this is without a so-called working product yet, and this is quite impressive. Now, this is something you'd want to see on a hidden gem that would indicate a great future success for the cryptocurrency. Now, do I think Moonbeam is a hidden gem? Well, not if you consider a hidden gem is a cryptocurrency under a $50 million market cap, because Moonbeam will launch to well over $1 billion for sure. But this is a great sign this project will be within the top 50 and possibly even a lot higher as time goes on. So picking up on a decent retracement will be a no-brainer. I do think Moonbeam will be a gigantic player in the space for sure. And remember, there is the ability to participate in the crowd loan, which will mean you're investing in the cryptocurrency at a very early stage. And you could say investing, it's not technically investing because you receive a certain amount of Moonbeam tokens, or should I say Glmr tokens, for giving up your DOT tokens. However, as time goes on and these tokens become more valuable, so will your investment. Now, this is the part in the video where I would typically cover venture capitalists, but I think naming the ones I have already listed in the token distribution slide was well and truly enough to convince anyone this was a smash hit. Like the 4 names on the screen now indicate, this is literally the 4 best investors you would want in a cryptocurrency, and they are all smashed in together in Moonbeam. But what I will mention is that if Moonbeam doesn't launch on either Binance or Coinbase right off the rip, I would get you to highly consider the possibility to invest, as these 2 exchanges will 100% list Moonbeam sometime in the near future, and this always leads to a huge surge in price, as we all know. Well, what are my closing thoughts on Moonbeam? Well, I honestly have nothing bad or critical to say about Moonbeam. Put simply, I am amazed at how well this project has so far been managed and what it plans to accomplish. Now, with everything I have mentioned, it would be crazy not to give this a 10 out of 10 and state that I am so bullish on its future. Now, as everyone should know by now, I am always looking into the future of cryptocurrency, not just the present, and that's why I love projects that offer interoperability, especially between 2 DeFi powerhouses like Ethereum and Polkadot. Now, the backers and the current partners are amazing, and don't forget the amazing community Moonbeam has established already. All we can do now is wait for the parachain auction to begin and hope for the best, really. There will be 100 slots available though, and I don't see Moonbeam missing out there. All I can say is check out my price prediction video, which will be linked at the top right hand corner of the screen now, which is where I think Moonbeam can actually go on launch day. Now again, follow my Twitter so you can get up-to-date information on when this will be launching, and your support always does mean the world to me. Take care everyone, I will see you on the next one. Bye.